Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am so happy to have you here with me today. This is the place where we take your English skills from basic understanding to true confidence. And today we are going to talk about something that almost every language learner struggles with at some point. It is the feeling of sounding a bit robotic. You know exactly what I mean. You have studied the grammar books, you have memorized the vocabulary lists, and you know how to conjugate verbs perfectly, but when you open your mouth to speak, it sounds a little bit stiff. It sounds like you are reading from a textbook rather than having a real conversation with a friend. Today we are going to fix that. We are going to dive deep into the secrets of flowing, natural English speech. We are going to learn how to stop sounding like a machine and start sounding like a real human being who connects with others. We will look at why this happens, how to change your rhythm, how to connect your words, and how to use the secret codes of native speakers to sound smoother instantly. So if you are ready to transform your voice and your confidence, settle in, relax, and let us get started with this listening practice. Let us begin by being honest about why we sound robotic in a second language. When we learn English in school, we often learn it word by word. We look at a sentence like a brick wall where every brick is separate and distinct. For example, you might see the sentence, "I am going to the store." In a textbook, each of those words has equal space and equal importance. So when you read it out loud, your brain tries to give every single word the same amount of power. You say, "I am going to the store." It is grammatically perfect. There is not a single mistake in that sentence. However, it does not sound natural. It sounds mechanical because that is not how human beings actually speak. Humans are not typewriters. We are like musicians. We use rhythm, we use melody, and we use flow to carry our meaning. When a native speaker says that same sentence, they do not treat every word equally. They might say, "I'm going to go to the store," or even faster, "I'm heading to the store." The words blend together like water flowing down a river rather than separate bricks in a wall. This brings us to the first major secret of sounding natural, which is linking. Linking is the art of connecting the end of one word to the beginning of the next word so that there is no break in sound. If you listen to a robotic voice on a computer, you will notice that it often puts a tiny pause between words. That tiny pause is the enemy of fluency. To sound human, you must let the sounds crash into each other. Think about the phrase, "wake up." If you say it like a robot, you say wake and then you stop and then you say up, wake up. But a human says wake up. The sound at the end of wake moves over and attaches itself to the up. It sounds like one single word, wake up. Try to hear that difference. It is subtle, but it changes everything. Let us look at another example with the phrase clean up. A robot says clean up. A human says clean up. The end sound at the end of clean slides directly into the use sound of up. It connects perfectly. When you start doing this, your speech instantly becomes faster and smoother without you actually having to think faster. You are simply removing the unnecessary gaps. Another huge part of stopping the robotic sound is understanding which words matter and which words do not. This is called sentence stress. In English, we have two types of words. We have content words and we have function words. Content words are the important ones. They are the nouns, the main verbs, the adjectives, and the adverbs. They carry the picture and the story. If I walked into a room and just shouted the words, "Cat, big tree, run," You would get a strange picture in your head, but you would understand the basic idea. Those are content words. Function words are the grammar glue. They are words like is, the, a, to, and for. These words are necessary for grammar, but they do not carry the main meaning. The mistake that makes people sound robotic is stressing the function words too much. A robot gives the word to the same power as the word go. A human crushes the word to until it is tiny and quiet. We do not say, I want to go. We say, I want to go. The word to becomes a tiny soft sound, almost like a little puff of air. This up and down rhythm is the heartbeat of English. If you speak in a flat line where every word is loud, you sound monotonous. If you speak with ups and downs, making the important words loud and longer and the grammar words quiet and short, you sound like a native speaker. Let us practice this concept of stress with a simple sentence like, I bought a car. The important information here is bought and car. The other words, I and a, are just grammar glue. So we do not say I bought a car, we say I bought a car. You go up on bought and up on car. The other words are just valleys in between the mountains. It creates a musical wave, da 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 da. I bought a car. If you can master this wave, you will stop sounding like a machine immediately. Machines speak in flat lines. Humans speak in waves. This is why listening to English often feels like listening to music. You need to hear the melody, not just the definitions. When you are listening to this podcast right now, try to pay attention not just to the words I am saying, but to the music of my voice. Notice how I get louder on the important ideas and very quiet and fast on the little connecting words. This is the secret rhythm that you need to copy. Now let us talk about something called reductions. This is where we actually change the sounds of words to make them easier to say. You have probably heard words like gonna and wanna. These are not slang words that are only used by teenagers. They are standard parts of spoken English that everyone uses. From the president to a doctor to a teacher, saying going to is very hard for the mouth to do quickly. It requires a lot of movement, so over hundreds of years, English speakers have lazily smoothed it out to gonna. It is efficient. When you refuse to use reductions, you sound overly formal and stiff. Imagine you are with a friend and you say, I am going to get a cup of coffee. It sounds like you are reading a formal declaration. If you say, I'm going to get a cup of coffee, you sound relaxed and friendly. Another common one is want to becoming wanna. Instead of saying, I want to see a movie, you say, I want to see a movie. There is also let me becoming lemmy. Instead of let me help you, it becomes let me help you. Using these reductions does not mean you are speaking bad English. It means you are speaking real English. The English you see in books is a frozen photograph of the language. The English you hear in real life is a living, moving thing. Let us go deeper into the emotional side of not sounding robotic. Robots do not have feelings. They deliver information. Humans deliver emotion. One of the biggest reasons language learners sound robotic is because they are so focused on getting the grammar right that they forget to put feeling into their voice. They are thinking so hard about the next word that their face goes blank and their voice goes flat. But communication is mostly about emotion. You can say the word really in 5 different ways, and it will mean 5 different things. You can say really with a rising tone to show surprise. You can say really with a falling tone to show disappointment. You can say really with a flat tone to show sarcasm. If you only say it one way, you are missing 90% of the communication. When you are speaking English, I want you to give yourself permission to be dramatic. Use your face. Use your hands. Let your voice go high when you are excited and low when you are serious. It might feel strange at first, like you are acting, but to a native listener, it just sounds engaging. It sounds like you care about what you are saying. Think about a time you told a story in your native language. You probably sped up during the exciting parts and slowed down during the serious parts. You probably whispered when it was a secret and got louder when it was a surprise. You need to bring that same acting ability into your English. Do not leave your personality behind just because you are switching languages. You are still you. Your English voice should just be another version of your real voice, not a separate robot voice that you put on. A great way to practice this is to take a simple sentence, like I do not believe it, and try to say it with 3 different emotions. First, try to say it with anger. I do not believe it. Then try to say it with happiness and surprise. I do not believe it. Then try to say it with sadness. I do not believe it. Notice how the pitch and the speed change. If you practice this, you will train your brain to connect emotion to English words, which creates a much more human sound. Let us return to the technical side for a moment and talk about the schwa sound. The schwa is the most common sound in the English language, and it is the key to effortless speech. It sounds like a tiny, relaxed It is the sound you make when someone punches you in the stomach lightly. This sound is everywhere. It is in the word about at the beginning. It is in the word teacher at the end. It is in the word banana. We do not say banana. We say buchnana. The first and last become schwas. Why is this important for not sounding robotic? Because if you pronounce every vowel clearly and perfectly, you will sound stiff. You need to relax your mouth. English is a lazy language in many ways. We want to do the least amount of work possible with our jaw and tongue. The schwa allows us to glide over the unimportant syllables so we can land hard on the important ones. If you are trying to pronounce every letter as it is written, you are working too hard and you are making yourself sound foreign. Relax your mouth. Let the unimportant vowels turn into that soft sound. It will instantly make your accent sound better. Another element that makes speech sound robotic is the lack of fillers and natural hesitations. This might sound counterintuitive because usually teachers tell you to stop saying and However, complete silence while you think can be awkward and makes the conversation feel disjointed. Native speakers use hesitation sounds to show that they are still thinking and that they are not finished talking. They use words like, well, and like. While you should not use these too much, using them a little bit can make you sound very natural. For example, if someone asks you a difficult question, instead of sitting in silence for 10 seconds and then delivering a perfect sentence, you can say, well, that is a good question. Let me think about that for a second. This buys you time to think, and it keeps the flow of the conversation going. It signals to the other person that you are a human being processing information, not a computer calculating a response. It adds a layer of social softness to your speech. Now let us imagine a real conversation to put all of this into context. Imagine you are meeting a friend for coffee. A robotic learner might say, "Hello, how are you today? I am fine. The weather is good. This is correct, but it creates a distance." A natural speaker would say, "Hey, how have you been? It's so nice out today, isn't it?" Notice the difference. The natural speaker uses contractions. They say it's instead of it is. They use a tag question, isn't it, to invite the other person to agree. They use intonation that rises and falls. They might stretch out the word so to emphasize how nice the weather is. They might say, "It is so nice out." That stretch adds warmth. The robotic speaker cuts every word short. The human speaker stretches words to wrap the other person in the conversation. When you listen to native speakers, try to catch these moments where they stretch words or cut them short. It is never random. It is always about connection and meaning. One very effective technique to stop sounding robotic is called shadowing. I have mentioned this before on English in Advance, but it is worth repeating because it is powerful. Shadowing is when you listen to a piece of audio and you repeat it exactly as you hear it, almost at the same time. You act like an echo. But the trick is, you do not just repeat the words. You repeat the emotion, the pauses, the breathing, and the pitch. If the speaker laughs, you laugh. If the speaker hesitates, you hesitate. You are trying to copy the exact musical performance of the sentence. This forces your brain to stop reading words and start feeling sounds. It breaks the habit of analyzing grammar while you speak. You can do this with this podcast right now. You can rewind 30 seconds and try to say exactly what I said, exactly how I said it. Do not worry about understanding every word perfectly. Just worry about the sound. If you do this for just 5 minutes a day, your robotic stiffness will begin to melt away. Let us talk about vocabulary choice as well. Sometimes we sound robotic because we use words that are too formal for the situation. English has many layers. We have formal words which often come from Latin or French, and we have informal words which often come from Old English or are phrasal verbs. For example, the word arrive is a bit formal. The phrasal verb get here is informal. If you text your friend and say, "I will arrive at the party at 8," it sounds a little bit like a business memo. If you say, "I'll get there at 8," it sounds like a friend. The word receive is formal. The word get is informal. Did you receive my email sounds professional. Did you get my email sounds casual. Often, language learners gravitate toward the formal words because they are easier to identify or they look similar to words in their own language. But relying only on formal vocabulary creates a barrier. It makes you sound like a professor giving a lecture. To sound more human and less robotic, try to embrace phrasal verbs and simple words. Don't say "I require assistance." Say "I need some help." Don't say "I possess a vehicle." Say "I have a car." Simple is often better. Simple is often more human. Let us explore the concept of breathing. This sounds very basic, but it is crucial. When we are nervous or trying to be perfect, we often hold our breath or breathe shallowly. This makes our voice sound thin and tight. A robotic voice often has no breath behind it. A human voice is powered by air. When you speak, you need to relax your stomach and let the air flow out. This gives your voice resonance and warmth. Also, native speakers organize their thoughts in breath groups. They do not speak in endless sentences without pausing. They speak in little chunks. For example, they might say, "Yesterday, pause for breath, I went to the market, pause for breath, and I saw something amazing." These pauses are natural. They give the listener time to process what was said. If you rush through a long sentence without pausing because you are afraid of making a mistake, you sound panicked and mechanical. Slow down, breathe, group your words into meaningful chunks. This puts you in control. When you are in control, you sound less like a machine that had been switched on and more like a person who is sharing a story. We also need to consider the cultural aspect of conversation. In some cultures, it is polite to wait until the other person is completely finished before speaking. In English conversation, especially in casual settings, there is often a little bit of overlap. We make listening sounds while the other person is talking. We say things like, yeah, really, oh, wow. While they are telling a story, this is called active listening. If you sit completely silently with a stone face while someone is talking to you, and then you wait 2 seconds and then speak, it feels like an interrogation. To sound natural, you need to participate in the listening process. Nod your head. Make little noises of agreement. Show that you are following along. This dynamic interaction breaks the robotic pattern of input and output. It turns the exchange into a dance where both partners are moving together. Let us go back to the idea of linking words, because it is so fundamental. There are specific rules you can learn that will help you. One is consonant to vowel linking. We talked about this with cleanup. Another one is vowel to vowel linking. This is interesting. If one word ends in a vowel and the next word starts with a vowel, we actually add a little sound in between to make it smooth. We usually add a W sound or a Y sound. For example, if you say go out, go ends in a vowel and out starts with a vowel. If you say them separately, go, out, it is choppy. A native speaker adds a W sound. It sounds like go out, go W out. Try it, go out, go out. It is much smoother. Or take the phrase I am. I ends in a vowel sound and am starts with a vowel. We add a Y sound. It becomes iam. I yam happy. This tiny little bridge makes your speech flow like liquid. If you do not use these bridges, your speech sounds like jumping from stone to stone. We want to swim, not jump. Now I want to address the fear of making mistakes, because this fear is the root cause of the robotic voice. When you are terrified of using the wrong verb tense or the wrong preposition, you put your brain into a high-stress monitoring mode. You analyze every word before it leaves your lips. This analysis kills the natural rhythm. You have to accept that you will make mistakes. Native speakers make mistakes. We stutter, we restart sentences. We use the wrong word and correct ourselves. That is human. Being perfect is for robots. Being imperfect is for humans. If you can let go of the need for perfection, your voice will naturally relax. You will start to focus on the message, not the grammar. When you focus on the message, your natural human desire to connect takes over, and your intonation improves automatically. You stop sounding like a student reciting a lesson and start sounding like a person sharing an idea. Let us try a visualization exercise. I want you to imagine that your words are honey. Honey is thick, slow, and continuous. When you pour honey from a jar, it does not come out in drops. It comes out in one long, golden stream. I want you to imagine that your English is that stream of honey. Do not let the stream break. Even if you have to slow down, keep the sound connecting. Stretch the vowels if you need time to think. Instead of stopping and starting, just stretch the sound. Wheel, I think that. This sounds much more natural than well. And paradoxically, when you prioritize flow, your precision often improves because you are more relaxed. Think about the phrase, how is it going? This is a very common greeting. A robot says, how is it going? 4 distinct beats. A human says, how's it going? It almost sounds like one single word, how's it going? The SN becomes a Z sound. The T in it might disappear or become a stop. The G at the end of going is often dropped. This is efficient speech. Now, I am not saying you should mumble. You still want to be clear, but clarity in English comes from stressing the right words, not from pronouncing every single letter. In the phrase, "How is it going?" the important part is the question itself. We know the grammar structure, so we do not need to hear every grammar letter clearly. We just need the melody and the key sounds. Let us talk about the glottal stop. This is a sound that replaces the letter T in many English words, especially in American and some British dialects. It is the sound you make in the middle of the word oo, that sudden stop of air in your throat. We often use this for words ending in T or TN. For example, the word button. We rarely say but-ton with a sharp T. We say boo-on. We stop the air in our throat. Mountain becomes moun-in. Curtain becomes cure-in. Using this sound can make you sound much more native and relaxed. If you carefully pronounce the T in mountain, you sound very precise and educated, but perhaps a little bit stiff in a casual conversation. Learning to swallow that T sound is a big step away from the robotic pronunciation guide and towards real street English. Another aspect is the use of idioms and cultural references. Robots understand literal meaning. Humans understand figurative meaning. If you say I'm very happy, that is literal. If you say I am over the moon, that is figurative. Using idioms appropriately adds color and personality to your speech. It shows that you understand the culture, not just the dictionary. However, be careful not to overuse them or use them incorrectly, as that can be confusing. But sprinkling in a few common expressions like hang in there or call it a day makes you sound like an insider. It breaks the stiffness of literal translation. When you use an idiom, you usually say it as a chunk. You do not think of the individual words. You think of the phrase as one unit. This helps with fluency, because you are grabbing a whole block of language at once instead of building it brick by brick. Let us discuss the physical tension in your body. Your voice is a physical instrument. If your shoulders are up by your ears and your jaw is clenched tight, you cannot produce a warm, flowing sound. Before you speak English, try to physically relax. Drop your shoulders. Shake out your hands, wiggle your jaw, smile. Smiling actually changes the shape of your mouth and makes your voice sound friendlier and brighter. A robot cannot smile. You can. When you smile while talking, it changes the resonance frequencies of your voice. People can hear a smile even over the phone. If you are tense, your listener will feel tense. If you are relaxed, your listener will relax. This physical state is more important than any grammar rule for not sounding robotic. I want to give you a challenge for your next conversation. I want you to focus 100% on the other person. Do not think about yourself. Do not think about your grammar. Do not think about your accent. Look at their eyes. Listen to their words. Watch their body language. When you focus entirely on the connection, your brain's natural language centers take over. You stop monitoring yourself. The robotic voice comes from the self-monitor, the part of your brain that is judging you. When you turn off the judge and turn on the connector, you sound human. You might make a mistake, but you will sound like a human making a mistake, which is charming and relatable. Also, think about the volume of your voice. Sometimes learners speak very quietly because they are unconfident. This can make them sound monotone because it is hard to have good intonation when you are whispering. Speak up. Use your full voice. When you have more volume, you have more range to go up and down. You can express excitement and seriousness better. Do not hide your voice. Claim your space in the conversation. English is a language that generally rewards confidence. Even if you are faking that confidence at first, the act of speaking clearly and with volume will actually make you feel more confident. It is a positive loop. Let us start this next section by talking about a fascinating concept called assimilation. This sounds like a big, scary scientific word, but it is actually very simple. It just means that sounds influence each other. When you speak quickly, your mouth is getting ready for the next sound before you have finished the current one. Because of this, the sounds sometimes change to become more like their neighbors. A perfect example of this is what happens when a word ends with a D or a T and the next word starts with a Y. Think about the phrase, did you? A robot says, did you? It is very clear, but it is also very separated. A human speaker blends them. The D and the Y mix together to create a J sound, so it becomes D-Jew. Did you see that? Did you go to the store? This is not lazy slang. This is how the mechanics of the mouth work efficiently. If you force yourself to say, did you every time, you will sound careful and precise, but you will not sound casual. The same thing happens with T and Y. Think about the phrase, nice to meet you. We often blend the T in meet and the Y in you to make a chi sound. Meet you, nice to meet you, or the phrase, don't you. It often becomes don cho. Don't you want to go? Try saying it with me right now. Don't you? Don cho. Feel how your tongue moves. Instead of tapping the top of your mouth for the T and then moving down for the Y, you just make one smooth movement in the middle. This is assimilation. It is your mouth finding the path of least resistance. When you start using these blends, your speech instantly sounds more fluid and less choppy. It signals to the listener that you are comfortable with the language, not just reading it from a page. Now let us tackle one of the most complex and important sounds in American English, which is the letter T. The letter T is a chameleon. It changes its color depending on where it is in the word and what sounds are around it. If you pronounce every T as a sharp, exploding sound, you will definitely sound robotic. We have the true T, which is the sharp sound at the beginning of words like table or time. That is easy. But then we have the flap T. This happens when a T is between two vowel sounds. In American English, this T does not sound like a T at all. It sounds like a very quick, soft D. Think about the word water. We do not say water, we say water. It is smooth. Think about the word better. We do not say better, we say bedder. The word city becomes city. If you use a sharp T in these words, you sound very formal, almost like a butler in an old movie. To sound like a modern friend, you need to soften that T into a quick tap against the roof of your mouth. There is also the held T, or the stop T. This happens when a T is at the end of a word, and we just stop the airflow instead of letting it explode out. Think about the word hot. A robot says hot with a big puff of air at the end. A native speaker says hot and just freezes the sound in their throat. It is almost like you are about to say the T, but you decide not to at the last second. Put your hand in front of your mouth and say hot. If you feel a puff of air on your hand, you are doing the robotic T. If you feel no air, you are doing the natural held T. Think about the phrase not now. We do not say not now with a break. We say not now. We hold the T and go straight into the N. This creates that seamless flow we are looking for. Mastering the different personalities of the letter T is one of the fastest ways to upgrade your accent. Moving on, let us discuss something called discourse markers. These are the words that do not add factual meaning to the sentence, but they add social meaning. They act as lubricants for the conversation. Words like actually, basically, honestly, and I mean, if you remove them, the sentence remains factually the same, but it feels emotionally colder. For example, imagine I ask you, did you like the movie? You could say, no, I did not like it. That is a robotic, factual answer. But a human might say, actually, to be honest, I didn't really like it. Those extra words cushion the blow. They make the negative opinion feel softer and more polite. They show that you care about the other person's feelings. Let us look at the word well. We often use well at the beginning of a sentence to signal that our answer is not a simple yes or no. If someone asks, "Can you come to the party?" and you say no, it sounds harsh. But if you say, "Well, I have a lot of work to do, so I probably can't." The word well acts as a flag. It tells the listener, "Hey, a complicated answer is coming. Please listen." Using these markers correctly shows high-level fluency. However, you must be careful not to overuse them. If you say like every 2 words, it can be distracting. But using actually to correct a misconception or using basically to summarize a long story is very natural. It helps organize your thoughts for the listener. Now I want to talk about speed versus clarity. Many English learners believe that speaking fast equals speaking fluently. They try to rush through their sentences like a race car driver, thinking that if they go fast enough, they will sound like a native speaker. This is a myth. Speaking too fast usually just makes you sound nervous and robotic because you lose the natural rhythm. Native speakers actually vary their speed constantly. We slow down for important new information, and we speed up for old understood information. It is like driving a car. You do not drive at 100 miles per hour everywhere. You slow down for turns, and you speed up on the highway. Imagine you are telling a story about buying a new phone. You might say, "So I went to the store yesterday," which is fast because it is just setting the scene. And then you slow down to say, "And I saw the most expensive phone I have ever seen." You slow down on most expensive phone because that is the point of the story. You want the listener to really hear that part. If you say the whole sentence at the same high speed, the listener does not know what is important. They get overwhelmed. To stop sounding robotic, give yourself permission to slow down. Use pauses. Use silence to create suspense. Speaking clearly and with good rhythm is much more impressive than just speaking fast. Let us explore the concept of paraphrasing. Robots have a fixed database. If they say something and you do not understand, they will just repeat the exact same sentence again. Humans are flexible. If I say something to you and I see a look of confusion on your face, I will instantly try to say it in a different way. I will change the vocabulary. I will simplify the grammar. I will use an example. This ability to rephrase your ideas is a key sign of natural speech. If you get stuck on a word, do not just freeze and look for that one specific word in your mental dictionary. Describe it. If you forget the word for umbrella, say the thing you hold over your head when it rains. This keeps the conversation moving. It prevents the awkward silence that makes you feel like a broken machine. Being able to talk around a word is actually a more advanced skill than just knowing the word. It shows you can think in English. Another element that creates a robotic effect is perfect, book-style grammar in casual situations. In textbooks, you learn to say, "Yes, I do," or "No, I will not." In real life, we use short answers and fragments. If someone asks, "Are you hungry?" a natural answer is starving or a little bit. We do not always need a full subject and verb. Starving conveys the meaning perfectly with one word. You coming? Instead of, "Are you coming?" is very common in casual speech. We drop the auxiliary verb are because the context makes it clear. Now, I am not telling you to forget your grammar rules. You need them for formal situations and writing. But for casual listening and speaking, you need to understand that dropping words is part of the human code. It signals intimacy and relaxation. If you speak in full, perfect sentences all the time, you create a barrier of formality. Let us go back to the musicality of English and talk about pitch range. This is the distance between your highest note and your lowest note. Many languages have a narrower pitch range than English. If you speak English using the pitch range of your native language, you might sound flat or bored to an English ear. English speakers, especially in the US and UK, go quite high for emphasis and quite low for finality. It can feel like a roller coaster. I want you to try an exercise. Take the word no. Say it with a very high pitch, like you are asking a question or are surprised. No? Now say it with a very low pitch, like you are angry or certain. No. Now try to slide from high to low. No! That slide is crucial. When we are thinking, we often use a sliding tone. We'll use that range. If you are telling a happy story, let your voice go up. If you are complaining, let your voice go down. Expanding your range makes you sound more dynamic and less like a computer-generated voice, which usually sits in the middle range. We also need to talk about softeners. These are phrases that make your requests and opinions sound less direct and demanding. A robot gives commands. Give me the salt. Open the window. A human asks politely, could you possibly pass the salt? Would you mind opening the window? In English, directness can sometimes be interpreted as rudeness. We love to wrap our requests in cotton. Instead of saying, you are wrong, which is very robotic and harsh, we say, I am not sure I agree with that. Or, I see it a little differently. Learning these softeners helps you navigate social situations smoothly. It makes people want to talk to you because you make them feel safe and respected. I was wondering if is a great phrase. I was wondering if you have time to help me. It is much softer than help me. Let us discuss the idea of active storytelling. When you tell a story, you want to bring the listener into the moment. A robotic storyteller uses the past tense for everything and keeps a distance. I walked down the street. I saw a dog. The dog barked. A natural storyteller often switches to the historical present tense to make it feel immediate. They might say, so I'm walking down the street, right? And suddenly I see this huge dog and it starts barking at me. Notice how I switch to I'm walking and I see. It makes the story feel like it is happening right now, right in front of your eyes. It adds energy. We also use words like this instead of a to introduce new things in a story. I saw this huge dog. Using this tells the listener that the dog is important to the story. It highlights the noun. These are subtle tricks, but they make your narrative sound engaging and human. Now, let us practice a specific type of intonation called the list intonation. When you are listing things, you need to signal to the listener that you are not finished yet. You do this by raising your voice on every item except the last one. On the last one, you drop your voice to show the list is complete. A robot might say, I bought apples, oranges, and bananas. Flat. A human says, I bought apples, up, oranges, up, and bananas, down. The rising tone says, more is coming. The falling tone says, I am done. This pattern is universal in English. If you go down on the second item, the listener will think you are finished and might interrupt you. Controlling your pitch controls the conversation flow. Let us touch on the concept of mirroring. This is a psychological and linguistic tool. When you are talking to someone, try to subtly mirror their vocabulary and their energy. If they are speaking quietly and using simple words, and you respond loudly with complex words, the connection breaks. It feels disjointed. If they use the word fantastic to describe their weekend, you can use fantastic later in the conversation. That sounds fantastic. This shows you are really listening and validates their choice of words. It creates a subconscious bond. Robots output data based on their programming. Humans adjust their output based on the input they receive. Be adaptable. Read the room. I want to talk about the sound of silence. Silence is powerful. In a conversation, you do not need to fill every single microsecond with sound. A pause can be used for emphasis. If you say, and then, I found it, that pause creates drama. It makes the listener lean in. A robotic speaker flows at a constant rate. A human speaker manipulates time. Do not be afraid to stop for a second to let a point sink in. Also, if you are searching for a word, it is okay to pause. You do not always need to say, Sometimes a silent pause makes you look thoughtful and intelligent. It gives you an air of confidence. Let us look at how we pronounce function words when they are negative. We talked about reducing to and for in the first part, but negative words like can't, won't, and don't are usually stressed clearly because they carry important information. The difference between I can go and I can't go is huge. In I can go, the can is reduced to can. I see and go. In I can't go, the can't is fully pronounced with a clear vowel sound. I can't go. Listen to the difference. I see and do it. I can't do it. If you reduce the negative word, people might think you are saying the positive word, leading to confusion. So the rule is reduce the positive auxiliary. Stress the negative one. This clarity prevents misunderstandings and sounds natural. Now let us get practical with some common conversational formulas. These are chunks of language that you can memorize and use without thinking about the grammar. They are like prefabricated building blocks. Phrases like, how come, instead of why. How come you didn't go? It sounds softer and more casual than why did you not go? Phrases like, what's up with, instead of what is the matter with, what's up with the car? These chunks allow your brain to rest because you don't have to construct them word by word. You just pull the whole phrase off the shelf and use it. The more of these chunks you have, the more fluid you will sound. Let us talk about the difference between written English and spoken English regarding sentences. In writing, run-on sentences are bad. In speaking, we love them. We connect ideas with an, you so, but, and then constantly. I went to the store and I saw Mike and we talked for a bit, so I was late getting home. In a formal essay, this is terrible. In a conversation, this is perfect. It shows the flow of events. Do not try to speak in perfect, short, isolated sentences like you are writing an email. Let your ideas flow into each other using these simple connectors. It keeps the story moving and prevents that choppy, robotic feel. Another tip for natural listening and speaking is to pay attention to the tone of voice. Sometimes the tone contradicts the words. If a friend drops a plate and breaks it and says, "Oh, great," they do not mean it is great. They mean it is terrible. This is sarcasm. A robot cannot understand sarcasm because it only analyzes the definition of the word great. You need to listen to the melody. Usually, sarcasm is delivered with a flat, lower tone or an overly exaggerated happy tone. Being able to identify and use sarcasm appropriately is a high-level skill that adds a lot of personality to your English. It shows you have a sense of humor. Let us return to the physical aspect of pronunciation for a moment. English is a language that uses a lot of air. You need to support your voice from your diaphragm. If you speak from your throat, your voice will get tired and sound thin. Put your hand on your stomach. When you speak, you should feel your stomach moving in and out. This breath support allows you to link words together without running out of air. It gives your voice a rich, human quality. Also, relax your lips. Many learners hold their lips very tight. English requires loose, relaxed lips, especially for sounds like W and R. If your lips are stiff, your accent will sound stiff. I want to encourage you to listen to interviews with your favorite celebrities or thinkers in English. Interviews are great because they are unscripted. You get to hear how people really talk when they are thinking on their feet. You will hear the fillers, the restarts, the interruptions, the laughter. Notice how they interact with the interviewer. Notice how they use their hands. Try to mimic their style. If you like how an actor speaks, try to adopt a little bit of their persona. It helps to have a model. It gives you a target to aim for that is real and human, not abstract and grammatical. We should also consider the use of vague language. Sometimes we don't need to be precise. We use words like stuff, things, sort of, and kind of. I need to buy some food and stuff. It was kinda cold. She is sort of tall. This vague language softens the edges of your statements. It makes you sound less rigid. A robot would say, "She is 175 centimeters tall." A human says, "She's sort of tall." Unless you are a doctor or an engineer giving a report, you rarely need to be 100% precise in casual conversation. Embracing vagueness makes you sound more relaxed and relatable. Let us practice the why intrusion. This is a specific linking trick. When a word ends in an E sound, like me, see, hey, or an A sound, like say, day, play, and the next word starts with a vowel, you add a little Y sound. He is becomes heyus. See us becomes see us. Day after becomes day after. This little Y acts as a bridge. It stops your voice from stopping. Try it with me and you. It sounds fluid. It sounds lovely. It removes the robotic gap. Similarly, we have the W intrusion. When a word ends in an oo sound, like do, you, who, or an O sound, like go, no, so, and the next word starts with a vowel, you add a little W. Do it becomes do it. Go away becomes go away. You are becomes you wear. This keeps the vocal cords vibrating. The goal of natural speech is to keep the vibration going as long as possible within a breath group. The robot turns the sound on and off. The human keeps the sound humming. Now, let us talk about confidence again, but from a different angle. Confidence comes from acceptance. Accept that your accent is part of your identity. You do not need to eliminate your native accent completely to sound natural. You just need to adopt the rhythm and flow of English. Many people speak with a heavy accent but sound completely natural and fluent because they have mastered the stress, the linking, and the emotion. Do not obsess over sounding exactly like an American or a British person. Obsess over being clear, being connected, and being expressive. Your unique voice is valuable. When you stop fighting your own voice, you relax, and when you relax, you sound less robotic. I want to suggest a daily practice routine for you. Every day, record yourself speaking for 1 minute. Just talk about your day. Then listen to it. Do not judge yourself harshly. Just listen. Does it sound choppy? Does it sound flat? Pick one sentence that sounded a bit robotic and try to say it again. Add some linking, change the pitch, add an emotion, record it again. Compare the two versions. This feedback loop is incredibly powerful. You are your own best teacher because you can hear things on a recording that you cannot hear while you are speaking. Let us begin this next section by talking about a phenomenon called elision. We talked about linking sounds together, but sometimes, to sound human, you actually have to throw sounds away completely. One of the most common sounds that native speakers throw away is the letter H. This happens constantly in pronouns like he, him, her, and his. When these words appear in the middle of a sentence, the H often disappears. Think about the phrase tell him. A robotic speaker says tell him. They pronounce the H clearly. A native speaker drops the H and connects the L from tell to the I from aim. It sounds like tell him. I will tell him later. It sounds like one word. Try it. Tell him. Now think about ask her. If you say ask her with a strong breath for the H, it breaks the flow. A native speaker says asker. It sounds exactly like the word for someone who asks questions. Did you ask her? No, I didn't ask her yet. This H dropping is a key secret to speed and smoothness. It does not mean you are being lazy. It means you are maintaining the momentum of the sentence. Let us look at another example with is he. When you ask, is he coming, you do not need to separate the words. You can drop the H and say is he. Is he coming? It sounds like the name Izzy. Is he happy? Is he home? This creates a wave of sound that is easy for the listener to process. If you punch every H sound, you are exhausting your lungs and your listener's ears. However, be careful. You usually do not drop the H at the very beginning of a sentence. If you start a sentence with he, you pronounce it. He is my friend. But if it is in the middle, like is he your friend, it becomes izzy. Mastering this disappearing H will make your speech sound instantly more relaxed and native. Now let us move to a concept called gemination, or twin sounds. This happens when one word ends with a consonant sound and the next word begins with the exact same consonant sound. A robotic speaker will pronounce the sound twice. They will say social life. They finish the L in social, stop, and then start the L in life. This creates a tiny, awkward gap. A human speaker merges them into one long, slightly stronger sound. We say social life. We do not stop. We just hold the L sound a little longer. Think about black cat. We do not say black cat. We say black at. We hold the K sound at the back of our throat for a split second before releasing it into the at. It connects the two words into a single unit. Or take the phrase, stop pushing. It becomes stop pushing. One long P sound. If you try to separate them, you will stumble. Merging them bridges the gap and keeps the rhythm steady. We need to talk about the most versatile word in the English language, which is the word get. If you want to stop sounding robotic, you must embrace get. In formal education, we are taught specific verbs for everything. We learn arrive, receive, become, understand, and buy. These are perfectly good words, but they can sound a bit stiff in casual conversation. Native speakers replace almost all of them with get. Instead of saying, I arrived home, we say I got home. Instead of saying I received a letter, we say I got a letter. Instead of saying I became angry, we say I got angry. Instead of saying I understand, we say I get it. Using get makes you sound down to earth and relatable. It lowers the formality level of the conversation. If you walk into a room and say, I have purchased a new vehicle, people will think you are writing a legal contract. If you say, I got a new car, you sound like a friend. Start noticing how often native speakers use get. It is everywhere. Adopting it is a quick shortcut to sounding more human. Let us discuss the concept of contrastive stress. This is a fun game you can play with any sentence. In English, we can change the entire meaning of a sentence without changing a single word, just by changing which word we stress. Let us look at the sentence, I didn't say he stole the money. This seems simple. But let us try stressing different words. If I say I didn't say he stole the money, it implies that someone else said it, not me. If I say I didn't say he stole the money, I am denying the action strongly. If I say I didn't say he stole the money, it implies maybe I wrote it or maybe I just thought it. If I say I didn't say he stole the money, it implies I think someone else stole it. If I say I didn't say he stole the money, it implies maybe he just borrowed it. And if I say I didn't say he stole the money, it implies maybe he stole something else, like the jewelry. That is 6 different meanings from one sentence. A robot only has one meaning. A human uses stress to paint the specific meaning they want. When you speak, think about what you are really trying to say. Highlight that specific word with your voice. Now, I want to talk about how we handle interruptions and turn-taking in conversation. In a textbook dialogue, person A speaks, then stops. Then person B speaks, then stops. In real life, conversations are messy. We overlap, we interrupt. But there is a polite way to do it and a rude way to do it. If you want to interrupt someone to add an idea, you do not just start shouting your idea. You use entry phrases. You say things like, "Can I just add something here?" Or, "That reminds me of," or "Hold on a second." These phrases signal that you want the floor. And if someone interrupts you, you do not need to stop immediately. You can keep talking for a few words to finish your thought, or you can say, "Let me just finish this point." Learning to navigate this traffic of conversation is crucial. It prevents you from being passive. It allows you to dance with your partner. Do not be afraid of a little overlap. It shows enthusiasm. Let us explore the idea of register switching. This means changing your style based on who you are talking to. A robot talks to a king and a child in exactly the same way. A human changes their voice, their vocabulary, and their body language. You already do this in your native language. You speak differently to your boss than you do to your best friend. In English, you need to develop these different voices too. When you are with friends, use slang, use contractions, speak faster. When you are in a meeting, slow down, use more standard grammar, articulate more clearly. The ability to switch registers shows high social intelligence. If you use slang in a job interview, it is awkward. If you use formal business English at a party, it is robotic. Try to observe the people around you. If they are relaxed, you relax. If they are formal, you formalize. Mirroring the energy of the room makes you fit in naturally. I want to touch on the subject of cultural understatement. Especially in British English, but also in American English, we often downplay strong emotions or situations. If something is incredibly terrible, a native speaker might just say, "It is not ideal." If something is amazing, they might just say, "It is not bad." This is called litotes. It is a way of being cool and detached. If you are screaming, "This is the most magnificent thing I have ever seen." For a simple sandwich, you might sound a bit over the top and unnatural. Learning to use phrases like, "It's pretty good," or "I've seen worse," adds a layer of subtle, native-like sophistication to your speech. It shows you understand the cultural code of not taking things too seriously. Let us practice some specific difficult sound clusters that often make learners stumble and sound robotic. The THES sound is very hard in words like months or clothes. Pronouncing the TH and the S clearly is a gymnastic feat for the tongue. Here's a secret. Native speakers cheat. For the word clothes, we almost always just say close, like close the door, put on your close. It is perfectly acceptable and much easier. For months, we often say months. We turn the TH into a T sound because it is easier to go from N to T to S. 6 months. If you try to say mon-TES perfectly, you will slow down and sound awkward. Use these native shortcuts. They are not errors. They are efficiencies. Another cluster is asked. The K, S, and T sounds together are a nightmare. I asked him. Try saying that fast. It is like a traffic jam in your mouth. Many native speakers simplify this. Some reduce the K so it sounds more like aced. I ask him, or they drop the T slightly and rely on the context. I ask him. Finding a way to navigate these clusters smoothly is more important than pronouncing every single consonant. Remember, flow is king. If the consonant cluster breaks the flow, break the cluster, not the flow. Let us talk about the psychology of the English persona. Many learners feel shy because they feel like they are losing their identity when they speak a foreign language. They feel like a child again because they cannot express complex thoughts easily. This causes them to retreat into a robotic, safe mode. I want you to try something different. I want you to create an English character for yourself. Maybe your English character is a bit more outgoing, a bit louder, a bit more dramatic than your normal self. Give this character a name if you want. When you switch to English, step into this character. This psychological trick frees you from the fear of being judged. It is not you making the mistake. It is the character. This allows you to experiment, to be playful, and to take risks. And taking risks is the only way to stop sounding robotic. You have to risk sounding silly to eventually sound natural. Let us return to the melody of questions. We learned in school that questions go up at the end. Do you like coffee? Up. But this is only true for yes, no questions. Questions, who, what, where, when, why, how, actually go down at the end. Where are you going? We go down on going. If you go up, where are you going? You sound incredulous or like you are asking for repetition. If you use the rising intonation for everything, you sound unsure of yourself. You sound like you are constantly asking for permission. Using the falling intonation on questions makes you sound confident and authoritative. What is your name? Down. How did you do that? Down. Master this downward slide to sound more grounded. I want to discuss the concept of nominalization and why you should avoid it in speech. Nominalization is turning verbs into nouns. For example, instead of saying, "We need to discuss this," a robot or a bureaucrat might say, "We need to have a discussion about this." Instead of saying, "He decided to leave," they might say, "He made a decision to leave." Using strong verbs makes your speech punchy and active. Using heavy nouns makes your speech slow and academic. To sound human and energetic, love your verbs. Let's decide is better than let's make a decision. I hope is better than I have a hope. Keep it active. Keep it moving. Let us look at how we express agreement. A robot says, yes, I agree. A human has 100 ways to say yes without saying yes. We say totally, absolutely, for sure, you bet. I know, right? Tell me about it. Using these diverse phrases adds flavor to the conversation. If you always use the same standard yes, you become predictable. Humans are unpredictable. Tell me about it is a great phrase. It does not mean, please tell me the story. It means, I agree with you completely because I have experienced the same thing. If your friend says, traffic was terrible today, and you say, tell me about it, you are bonding with them. You are sharing the pain. Now let us try a listening visualization exercise. I want you to close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine you are watching a ping pong match. The ball goes back and forth. Click, clack, click, clack. It is a rhythm. Conversation is exactly like that. It is a rhythm of exchange. You cannot hold the ball. You have to hit it back. Short answers, quick questions, little comments. Do not deliver a monologue. Hit the ball back. If someone asks, how was your weekend? Do not give a 5-minute speech. Say, it was great. I went hiking. How was yours? Hit the ball back. This back and forth dynamic is what makes a conversation feel alive. If you hold the ball too long, the game stops. If you drop the ball, the game stops. Keep the ball moving. We should also talk about the vocal fry. This is a creaky sound that some native speakers, especially in America, make at the end of sentences. It sounds like a low, vibrating rattle. While some people dislike it, it is a very common feature of modern, natural English. I am not saying you must try to do it, but you should not be afraid of it. If your voice relaxes so much at the end of a sentence that it gets a little creaky, that is actually a sign that you are physically relaxed. It sounds authentic. It sounds like you are not trying too hard. A robot voice is pure and synthesized. A human voice has texture, grit, and creaks. Embrace the texture of your voice. Let us discuss the difference between active voice and passive voice in speaking. Passive voice is, the apple was eaten by me. Active voice is, I ate the apple. Passive voice is distant and objective. Active voice is personal and direct. In casual conversation, we use active voice 90% of the time. We want to know who did what. John broke the window is better than the window was broken. Using active voice puts people at the center of your stories. It makes your English sound like it is about human agency, which is inherently more interesting to listen to. I want to give you a tip about using qualifiers. These are words like a little bit, quite, pretty, rather, and sort of. We use these to adjust the strength of our adjectives. If you say, it is cold, that is a binary statement. If you say, it is pretty cold, or it is rather cold, you are adding nuance. Native speakers rarely deal in absolutes. We are always calibrating. I'm a little bit hungry. He's quite nice. It's sort of complicated. Using these words shows that you are evaluating the situation with sophistication. It softens your statements and makes them sound more thoughtful. Let us talk about the power of the word so. We use so constantly to start sentences and to transition between topics. So, what are you doing later? So, I was thinking, so that's what happened. It is a signal that a new thought is beginning. It is much more natural than therefore or consequently. If you are telling a story and you want to move to the next part, just say, so, and continue. It is the ultimate connector. It tells the listener, stay with me. The story is continuing. Another aspect of not sounding robotic is how you handle corrections. If you make a mistake while speaking, do not apologize profusely. Do not say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, my English is bad." This stops the conversation and makes it awkward. Just correct yourself and move on. Or, even better, just ignore it. Most of the time, the listener understands what you meant. If you say, he go to the store instead of he went, and you keep talking, the listener will probably not even notice. If you stop and apologize, you draw attention to the mistake. Flow is more important than accuracy in the moment of connection. Confidence covers a multitude of errors. Let us explore the idea of echo questions. This is a way to show interest and keep the conversation going. If someone says, I'm going to Paris next week, you can say, to Paris, or next week. It shows you are surprised or impressed. It invites them to say more. Yeah, I've always wanted to go. It is a very simple technique. You just repeat a key piece of information with a rising question intonation, but it makes you sound like an incredibly attentive conversationalist. It makes the other person feel heard. I want to talk about the rule of 3. For some reason, the human brain loves things in 3s. When we list things or give examples, we often give 3. I was tired, hungry, and cold. It was big, loud, and scary. If you give 2, it feels incomplete. If you give 4, it feels like a laundry list. 3 feels satisfying. It feels like a complete thought. Try to group your descriptors into 3s. It adds a rhetorical rhythm to your speech that sounds very pleasing and natural. Let us discuss the concept of talking to yourself. This is one of the best ways to practice avoiding the robotic voice because there is no pressure. Narrate your life. As you are cooking, say, okay, now I am chopping the onions. Wow, these are strong. I'm going to cry. Do it out loud. Experiment with different intonations. Try to sound like a cooking show host, then try to sound like a grumpy chef, then try to sound like a whisperer. By playing with your voice in private, you stretch your capabilities. You find out what your voice can do. You get comfortable with the physical sensation of speaking English. We also need to consider the impact of body language on your voice. If you are stiff physically, your voice will be stiff. If you talk with your hands, your voice naturally becomes more dynamic. The movement of your hands actually helps your brain find words and helps your voice find rhythm. Watch Italians speak. Their whole body is involved. You do not have to be that expressive if it is not your style, but do not stand like a statue. Nod your head to the beat of your own sentences. Lean in. Shrug. These physical movements will naturally break up the robotic monotone. Let us talk about the difference between I think and I reckon or I guess. I think is standard. I guess is softer and more American casual. I guess he's right. I reckon is more British or rural American. I reckon it's gonna rain. I suppose is a bit more formal or resigned. I suppose you're right. Varying these phrases adds texture. If you start every opinion with I think, it becomes repetitive. In my opinion is very formal. Try using if you ask me, it's a bad idea. This sounds conversational and punchy. I want to remind you that listening is the fuel for speaking. If you want to stop sounding robotic, you need to fill your brain with human sounds. But do not just listen to English learning materials. Listen to reality. Listen to podcasts where two friends are just chatting. Listen to radio phone-in shows. Listen to vloggers on YouTube. You need to hear the messy, imperfect, overlapping, slang-filled reality of the language. Your brain is a pattern-matching machine. If you feed it robotic inputs, like slow, scripted dialogues, it will produce robotic outputs. If you feed it natural inputs, it will eventually produce natural outputs. Let us start today by talking about the rhythm of English in a slightly different way. Linguists classify languages into two types, syllable-timed and stress-timed. Many languages like Spanish, French, or Japanese are syllable-timed. This means every syllable takes up roughly the same amount of time. It sounds like a machine gun, rat-a-tat-tat. English is different. English is stress-timed. This means the time between the stressed words is equal, no matter how many unstressed words are in between. This is a crucial concept to understand if you want to stop sounding robotic. If you try to give every syllable equal time in English, you will sound foreign and mechanical. You need to learn to compress the unimportant words. Imagine you have a rubber band. The stressed words are the knots in the rubber band. The unstressed words are the stretchy parts. You can stretch them out or snap them tight, but the knots remain the steady beat. For example, compare cats chase mice, and the cats will chase the mice. These two sentences should take roughly the same amount of time to say, even though the second one has more words. Cats chase mice. The cats will chase the mice. You have to squeeze the and will and the into tiny spaces so that the beat of cats, chase, and mice stays steady. If you practice clapping your hands on the important words, you will feel this rhythm. Stop counting syllables and start feeling the beat. This compression is what gives English its characteristic galloping sound. Now let us dive into a specific sound that creates a very native quality, the dark L. In many languages, the letter L is always light. It is made by touching the tip of your tongue to the teeth, like in love or light. In English, we use this light L at the beginning of words. But when an L comes at the end of a word or before a consonant, we use a dark L. This sound is made deep in the throat, almost like a vowel. Your tongue tip might not even touch the top of your mouth. Think of the word ball. We do not say ba'l with a sharp click at the end. We say ba'ul. It sounds like a mixture of an O and an L. It resonates in the back of the throat. Think of the word milk. A robotic pronunciation is milk-a. A native pronunciation is mi-ulk. The L is heavy and dark. Mastering this sound adds a richness to your accent. It removes that sharp, thin quality that often signals a non-native speaker. Try saying, I feel well. Use the dark L on feel and well. I feel we all. It sounds much more relaxed and grounded. Let us discuss the word just. This is perhaps the most powerful softener in the English language. A robot is direct. I want to talk to you. This can sound aggressive or demanding. A human uses just to minimize the imposition. I just wanted to talk to you for a second. The word just signals that it is a small request, that it is not a big deal. Can you help me? Is okay. Could you just help me for a minute? Is much friendlier. It takes the pressure off the other person. We also use it to soften bad news. I'm just not sure it's a good idea. This is much better than it is a bad idea. If you want to sound like a polite, socially aware English speaker, sprinkle just into your requests and opinions. It acts like a cushion. making your social interactions smoother and less rigid. Moving on, let us talk about how to end a conversation. This is often where learners freeze up and sound robotic. You have a nice chat and then you don't know how to leave, so you just say goodbye and walk away. That feels abrupt. Native speakers use pre-closing signals. We signal that we are about to leave before we actually say goodbye. We use phrases like, "Anyway, I should let you go," or, "Well, it was great catching up," or, "I'd better get going." These phrases act as a gentle warning that the conversation is ending. They show respect for the other person's time. You might say, "Anyway, I've got to run, but let's talk soon." Then you say, "Bye." The bye is the very last step of a dance. If you skip the steps before it, you step on your partner's toes. Learning these exit strategies makes you seem confident and socially polished. Let us explore the concept of tag questions in more depth. We touched on this, but it deserves more attention. Tag questions are those little tails we put at the end of sentences, like "isn't it?" "Don't you?" or "aren't they?" A robot asks a direct question. "Is it cold?" A human seeks agreement. "It's cold, isn't it?" The intonation here is key. If your voice goes down at the end, you are not really asking a question. You are stating a fact and expecting the person to agree. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Voice goes down. This creates a bond. It says, we both see the world the same way. If your voice goes up, it is a real question. "You're coming, aren't you?" Voice goes up. This implies you are not sure. Using tag questions with a falling intonation is a great way to keep a conversation flowing without constantly interrogating the other person. It turns a monologue into a shared experience. Now let us talk about the vowel stretch, or diphthongs. Many English vowels are actually two sounds sliding into each other. The sound O in go is not a pure O, it is O sliding into U, G-O-U. The sound A in say is E sliding into I, S-E-I. Robotic speakers often clip these vowels and make them short and pure. Go, say. Native speakers stretch them. Goo, say. This stretching adds time to your speech and allows you to project more emotion. If you are surprised, you stretch the vowel even longer. No way becomes no way. If you clip the vowels, you sound like you are in a rush or that you are angry. Relax your jaw and let the vowels slide. It feels like chewing gum. It is elastic. Let us address the word that. In written English, that is very important. "I think that he is nice." The car that I bought. In spoken English, we often delete that to improve flow. "I think he's nice." The car I bought. Removing that brings the subject and the verb closer together. It reduces the clutter in the sentence. "I know that you are busy" becomes "I know you're busy." It is faster, cleaner, and less formal. Of course, sometimes you need it for clarity, but 80% of the time in casual speech, you can drop it. This is a simple edit you can make in your head to instantly sound less like a textbook. I want to talk about how we express uncertainty. A robot either knows the answer or does not know. I do not know. A human exists in a gray area. We use phrases like, "I'm not entirely sure," "I haven't got a clue," "beats me," or "I guess so." We also use sounds. A long or while looking away signals that you are thinking. This performance of thinking is part of the language. If you answer every question instantly with yes or no or "I don't know," it feels like an interrogation. Taking a moment to say, "That's a good question, let me think," makes you sound thoughtful. It makes the silence comfortable rather than awkward. Let us look at the used to structure. This is vital for storytelling. A robot says, "In the past, I played football." A human says, "I used to play football." Used to implies a habit that is no longer true. It carries a sense of nostalgia. We pronounce it "usta." The S becomes soft, and the to becomes a schwa. I used to live there. We used to go to the beach. Using this structure correctly instantly places you in the advanced category. It shows you understand the nuance of time. Similarly, we use would for past habits. When I was a kid, we would always visit my grandma. This would adds a feeling of repetition and memory. Mixing used to and would creates a beautiful, nostalgic narrative flow that simple past tense cannot achieve. Now let us discuss the rule of echoing. This is a listening technique where you repeat the last few words someone said to show you are engaged or surprised. Person A: "I just bought a Ferrari." Person B: "A Ferrari?" This echo encourages the person to continue. It is much better than just saying, "Okay." You can also echo to clarify. Person A: "Meet me at the station at 5. Person B: "At 5, got it." This verbal confirmation closes the loop. It reassures the speaker that the message was received. It is a very human way of validating communication. Robots process data silently. Humans confirm data verbally. We should also talk about adverb placement. In many languages, the adverb goes after the verb. I like it very much. This is correct in English, but often we move the adverb to the middle to sound more natural. I really like it. I definitely want to go. He actually said that. Placing the adverb before the main verb gives it more punch. I strongly disagree sounds more forceful and natural than I disagree strongly. It prepares the listener for the verb. It sets the emotional tone before the action is revealed. Let us tackle the word thing. Thing is a wonderful, versatile word for avoiding robotic specificity. Instead of saying, "I need to organize my documents, pens, and stapler," you can say, "I need to organize my things." We use thing in many collocations. The thing is introduces a main point. It's a huge thing right now means it is popular. That's just his thing means that is his hobby or personality quirk. Using thing appropriately shows you are comfortable with generalization. We also use stuff. Thing is for countable objects. Stuff is for uncountable. There's a lot of stuff on the table. There are a lot of things on the table. Mixing these up makes you sound casual. I want to mention the concept of hedging. Hedging is when we use language to protect ourselves from being wrong or sounding too opinionated. We use phrases like, "It seems like," "It appears that," "As far as I know," or "To the best of my knowledge." A robot deals in facts. This is true. A human deals in perceptions. It seems like this is true. This humility in language is very attractive. It invites discussion rather than shutting it down. If you say, "That's the wrong answer," you might start an argument. If you say, "I'm not sure that's the right answer," you start a conversation. Let us practice the sound of reaction. In a real conversation, you are never just a passive listener. You are an active participant. You need a library of reaction sounds. Whoa, ooh, uh-huh, oh my gosh, no way, you're kidding. These interjections act as the soundtrack to the other person's story. If you tell a joke and there is silence, it is painful. If you tell a sad story and there is silence, it is cold. You need to make sympathetic noises. "Oh, that's awful. Oh, I'm so sorry." These are not just words. They are emotional bridges. Practice making these sounds even when you are watching a movie in English. React to the screen. Train your vocal cords to express emotion spontaneously. Let us discuss the difference between look, see, and watch. This is a common confusion that leads to robotic errors. Look is active. You move your eyes. See is passive. The image comes into your eyes. Watch is active and sustained. You look at something for a long time, usually something moving. You watch a movie. You see a bird fly by. You look at a painting. If you say, "I watched a bird," it implies you stared at it for a long time. If you say, "I saw a movie," it usually means you went to the cinema. If you say, "I watched a movie," it usually means you were at home. These tiny distinctions paint a clear picture. Getting them right makes your English sharp and precise. Now let us talk about the concept of dummy subjects. In English, we often need a subject even when there isn't one. We use it or there. It is raining. Who is raining? No one. It is just a dummy subject. There is a problem. A robotic mistake is to translate directly from a language that doesn't use dummy subjects, saying, "is raining" or "has a problem." You must anchor the sentence with it or there. It's obvious that it's important there seems to be mastery of these empty subjects provides the necessary structure for your sentences to stand up. I want to introduce the idea of fronting. Sometimes, to change emphasis, we move a part of the sentence to the front. Coffee I love. Tea I hate. This is not standard grammar, but it is common in speech when we want to contrast things. That movie I've already seen. It puts the topic first. It is a way of organizing information based on what is on your mind. While you should be careful not to overuse it, using it occasionally makes you sound like a confident speaker who bends the language to fit their thoughts. Let us talk about similes. These are comparisons using like or as. He eats like a horse. She sleeps like a log. It's as light as a feather. Native speakers use these standard similes all the time. They are cultural shortcuts. If you say, "he eats a large amount of food," it is clinical. If you say, "he eats like a horse," it is vivid. You do not need to invent new creative metaphors. Learning the standard cliches is actually better for fluency because everyone understands them instantly. It shows you belong to the linguistic club. Now let us consider the speed of your thought versus the speed of your mouth. Often we sound robotic because we are translating in our heads. We think in our native language, translate, and then speak. This creates a lag. To stop this, you need to simplify your thoughts. Do not try to translate a complex philosophical sentence from your native language. Reduce the idea to its simplest English form. If you want to say, "I am experiencing a sensation of extreme fatigue due to the excessive workload," just say, "I'm totally burned out." Simplify the thought before you speak. Speak in concepts, not in translations. This reduces the processing time and increases the flow. I want to discuss the power of the word one. We use it to avoid repeating a noun. I want the red apple, not the green one. A robot might say, "I want the red apple, not the green apple." Repeating the noun sounds clunky. Which one do you like? The big one, the expensive ones. Using one as a pronoun is a key linking device. It ties the sentences together tighter. Let us talk about how to accept a compliment. In some cultures, you must deny a compliment to be humble. In English, especially American English, if you deny a compliment too strongly, it can be awkward. If someone says, "Your English is good," and you say, "No, it is terrible," it contradicts them. A natural response is, "Thank you, I'm working on it," or Thanks, that means a lot, or I appreciate that. A simple thanks with a smile is perfect. It accepts the gift of the compliment without being arrogant. It keeps the positive energy flowing. We should also look at the phrase, you know what? This is a great way to introduce a new idea or a change of mind. You know what? Let's go to the beach instead. You know what? You're right. It grabs attention. It signals a shift. It is a conversational pivot point. Using it makes you sound dynamic and spontaneous. Let us revisit the schwa sound in the context of weak forms. Words like at, them, as, than, of. In a sentence, these words almost disappear. Cup of tea sounds like cup-a tea. Bigger than me sounds like bigger than me. Look at them sounds like look at 'em. If you pronounce them with a full th and e sound every time, you sound like you are reading a list. Look at them. No, look at 'em. Squashing these little words is not sloppy. It is essential for the rhythm we discussed at the beginning. It allows the big words to shine. Now, I want to give you a mindset tip, the good enough principle. Many of us are perfectionists. We want every sentence to be a masterpiece. But in a real conversation, good enough is perfect. If you get your meaning across, you have succeeded. If you fumble a word, it doesn't matter. If you use the wrong tense but the time is clear from context, it is fine. Letting go of the desire for perfection is the biggest step you can take towards sounding human. Humans are messy. Language is messy. Embrace the mess. When you stop worrying about the rules, you start playing the game. Let us talk about mirroring body language. Again, if the person you are talking to leans forward, lean forward. If they sit back, sit back. This unconscious synchronization builds rapport. And when you have rapport, your speech naturally relaxes. You stop performing and start connecting. The tension leaves your vocal cords. Your pitch drops to a more natural level. You sound like you. Finally, let us think about the smile voice. You can hear a smile. When you smile, you physically lift the soft palate in your mouth and shorten the vocal tract slightly. This makes the voice sound brighter and more resonant. Even if you are on the phone, smile. It changes your pronunciation. It makes you sound friendly and open. A robot has a neutral face. A human face is always moving. Let your face affect your voice. Let us begin this session with a fascinating secret called the Royal Order of Adjectives. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you say a sentence and it feels wrong, but you do not know why? The grammar is correct, but it sounds strange. Often this is because the adjectives are in the wrong order. A robot might say, I have a red big ball. A human instantly knows this is wrong. We say, I have a big red ball. Why? Because there is an invisible hierarchy of adjectives that every native speaker obeys unconsciously. The order generally goes opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, and purpose. This sounds complicated, but let us break it down. You cannot say a French beautiful old car. You must say a beautiful opinion, old age. French origin, car. Beautiful old French car. It flows perfectly. Think about a table. You want to describe it as wooden, round, and small. If you say, I bought a wooden, round, small table, you sound like a computer that has randomized the words. It sounds clunky. A native speaker automatically sorts them. Size first, then shape, then material. I bought a small round wooden table. It sounds musical. Small round wooden. Da-da-da. It has a rhythm. This is why Little Red Riding Hood is a famous story, not Red Little Riding Hood. Little is size, red is color. Size comes before color. If you master this order, your descriptions will sound incredibly natural. You do not need to memorize the whole list perfectly right now. Just remember that opinions usually come first, and factual things like material or purpose come last, right next to the noun. A lovely opinion, leather, material, jacket. A delicious opinion, Italian origin, pizza. Practice this. It is a subtle change that makes a massive difference. Now let us talk about the concept of hyperbole or exaggeration. Robots are literal. If a robot is hungry, it says, "I am experiencing hunger." If a human is hungry, we say, "I am starving to death." If a robot waited for 10 minutes, it says, "I waited for 10 minutes." A human says, "I have been waiting for ages," or "I have been waiting forever." Native speakers love to exaggerate. It adds drama and emotion to our stories. We say, "This bag weighs a ton," when it is just heavy. We say, "It's freezing in here," when it is just a bit cold. If you always use precise, measured language, you can seem a bit cold or clinical. "I am somewhat tired" is correct, but "I'm dead on my feet" is human. "I am very happy" is fine, but "I'm on cloud 9" or "I'm over the moon" connects better. Do not be afraid to be dramatic. English conversation is often a form of entertainment between two people. Let us move on to a very important pronunciation rule involving compound nouns. A compound noun is when we take two words and stick them together to make a new thing, like hot dog or White House or laptop. The rule for not sounding robotic here is all about stress. For compound nouns, the stress almost always goes on the first word. Think about the food hot dog. We say hot dog. The pitch goes high on hot and drops on dog. If you stress both equally, hot dog, or if you stress the second one, hot dog, you are describing a dog that is overheated, panting in the summer sun. You are not describing the food. Think about the White House where the U.S. president lives. We say White House, high-low. If you say White House, you are just pointing at a random house that is painted white. Think about greenhouse, a place for plants, versus greenhouse, a house painted green. Greenhouse, greenhouse. This stress pattern is crucial for meaning. I need a new LAP top, not lap TOP. I have a HEAD ache, not head ACHE. If you get this wrong, native speakers might be confused for a split second, which breaks the flow. Listen to how you say sunglasses. It should be sunglasses. Toothpaste, toothpaste. Punch the first word, relax on the second. This creates that native stair-step melody. Now let us discuss the physical placement of your voice. This is a bit abstract, but try to follow me. Different languages resonate in different parts of the body. Some languages are spoken very deep in the throat. Some are spoken very forward on the lips. American English, in particular, tends to be very nasal. It resonates in the middle of the face, around the nose, and the sinuses. If you hold your nose and speak, you sound very American. "Hey, how's it going?" If you speak from deep in your throat, you might sound like you are speaking your native language with English words. To sound more American and less robotic, try to lift your voice into your face. Imagine the sound is coming out of your nose, not just your mouth. This adds a twang or a brightness to the voice that is very characteristic of native speech. It helps with the R sounds and the flat A sound in cat or man. Let us talk about the undefined they. In school, you learn that pronouns must refer to a specific noun. But in casual English, we use they to refer to society, the government, the bosses, or just people in general. We say, they are building a new road down the street. Who is they? We don't know. The city? The workers? It doesn't matter. We say, they say it's going to rain. Who is they? The meteorologists? The app? They canceled my favorite TV show. If you try to be too specific and say, the network executives canceled the show, it sounds formal. Just use the mysterious they. It creates a sense of shared experience, like us versus them. You know what they say is a common phrase to introduce a proverb or common wisdom. Embracing this vague they makes your speech much more fluid. We also need to talk about clipping. This is when we cut words to make them shorter. Native speakers are efficient or lazy. We rarely say laboratory. We say lab. We do not say mathematics. We say math, or maths in the UK. We do not say gymnasium. We say gym. Refrigerator becomes fridge. Vegetables becomes veggies. Comfortable becomes comfy. If you use the full, long versions of these words in casual conversation, you sound like a Victorian gentleman or a robot reading a dictionary. I am going to the gymnasium to exercise. Sounds very stiff. I'm heading to the gym to work out sounds natural. Listen for these clipped words. Apps instead of applications. Ad instead of advertisement. Pro instead of professional. Using them shows you are an insider. Let us explore the concept of hedges in opinions. A robot states a fact. This movie is bad. A human softens the opinion to be polite and to invite discussion. We rarely say something is 100% bad unless we are angry. We say, it wasn't my favorite. It was a bit slow for me. I'm not a huge fan of it. These phrases communicate the same negative meaning, but they do it gently. They leave room for the other person to disagree without feeling attacked. I'm not a huge fan of spicy food is a very polite way to say, I hate spicy food. Learning these euphemisms is key to social fluency. It makes you sound sophisticated and nuanced. Now let us practice the gliding of diphthongs again. I mentioned this before, but I want to go deeper. English vowels move. The word no is not a static sound. It moves from O to U, no W. Watch your lips in a mirror when you say no. Your lips should round at the end. If your lips stay still, it sounds flat and robotic. No, static. No, moving. The word boy. It moves from O to E. Bo-e. Make sure you finish the movement. The word I moves from ah to e. Ah-e. I. If you cut the movement short, your accent sounds choppy. Give the vowels time to travel. This movement is what makes English sound so rolling and continuous. I want to talk about conversation threading. This is how you connect what you are saying now to what was said before. A robot starts a new topic from zero. I like apples. A human connects. Speaking of food, I like apples. That reminds me of the time I ate an apple. By the way, do you like apples? These bridges, speaking of, that reminds me. By the way, on that note, are the glue of conversation. If you just jump from topic to topic without these bridges, the listener gets whiplash. It feels disjointed. If your friend is talking about their dog and you want to talk about your cat, don't just say, my cat is cute. Say, speaking of pets, my cat did something funny yesterday. This acknowledges their topic while pivoting to yours. It is polite and fluid. Let us discuss the sound of the letter R again, specifically the American R. This is often the hardest sound for learners. The key is that the tip of your tongue should never touch the roof of your mouth. Never. It pulls back. It bunches up in the back of your mouth like a muscle flexing. It is a growling sound. grrr. Car, park, bird. If your tongue taps the top, like in Spanish or Italian, it becomes a trill or a tap, which is beautiful, but it is not an American English accent. To stop sounding robotic in an American context, you need to master this bunched arbor practice, growling like a dog. Rrrr. Feel the tension in the back of the tongue, then try to say red, run, rabbit. It should feel strong and deep. Now let us look at the phrase, I don't know. A robot says, I do not know. A human often mumbles this phrase so much it becomes just sounds. I don't know. Sometimes we don't even use the D or the N sounds clearly. We just use the melody. Low, high, low. If someone asks, where is Mike? And you just make the sound with a shrug, they understand perfectly that you don't know. I am not saying you should always grunt, but understanding that I don't know is a valid word in spoken English helps you understand why native speakers sound so fast. We are compressing the most common phrases into sound bites. Let us talk about echoing for clarification. Sometimes you don't hear what someone said. A robot says, please repeat, or I did not understand. A human says, sorry? Excuse me? Say that again? Or what was that? Come again is also a friendly idiom. Sorry, I didn't catch that. These phrases are much more natural than the formal, please repeat. Also, notice the rising intonation. Sorry. Voice goes up. If you say sorry with a falling intonation, it means you are apologizing for a mistake. If you say sorry with a rising intonation, it means, I didn't hear you. The music carries the meaning. I want to introduce the concept of generic you. In school, you learn you means the person you are talking to. But in philosophy or general statements, you means people in general. You have to work hard to succeed. I am not talking about you specifically. I mean anyone. If you break the law, you go to jail. A robot might say, if one breaks the law, one goes to jail. Using one is extremely formal and archaic. Using you for general statements makes you sound relatable and modern. You know what they say is a common phrase to introduce a proverb or common wisdom. Embracing this vague they makes your speech much more fluid. Let us talk about adverbial intensifiers beyond very. Very is a boring word. Robots use very. It is very good. It is very cold. Humans use a colorful range of intensifiers. It's super good. It's really cold. It's incredibly fast. It's totally awesome. It's absolutely freezing. It's pretty nice. It's kind of weird. Swap out very for super, totally, or really, and you instantly sound younger and more casual. Super is especially common in American English. I'm super tired. He's super nice. It is easy to use and sounds great. Now, let us discuss the rule of consistency. One thing that makes an accent sound robotic or confusing is mixing dialects. If you use American vocabulary, apartment, elevator, gas, but a British accent, or British vocabulary, flat, lift, petrol with an American accent, it can be jarring. It sounds like a computer program crashing. Try to pick a lane. If you want an American accent, use American words. If you want a British accent, use British words. Consistency helps the listener tune in to your frequency. It makes you predictable in a good way. Let us practice the sound of awkwardness. Sometimes we don't know what to say. The silence feels heavy. A robot sits in silence. A human acknowledges the awkwardness. We say, well, this is awkward. Or we laugh nervously, or we say, anyway, stretching it out. Anyway, this signals, I am changing the subject now because the current topic is dead. Humor is the best defense against robotic awkwardness. If you trip over your words, laugh. If you forget a name, say, "Oh, my brain is not working today." Admitting your humanity makes you charismatic. I want to talk about paralinguistic features. This includes sighing, clicking your tongue, gasping, and groaning. These sounds communicate meaning. A sigh can mean "I'm tired," or "I'm relieved," or "I'm annoyed." A gasp means "I'm shocked." If you tell a story and you act it out with these sounds, it comes alive. So I walked in and gasped. The room was empty. That gasp does more work than the words. Do not be afraid to make noise. Language is sound, and not all sound is words. Let us discuss the word actually. We touched on this, but let's go deeper. Actually is used to correct a misconception. I thought you were American. Actually, I'm Canadian. It acts as a gentle pivot, but be careful. If you use it too much, you can sound like a know-it-all. Actually, it's pronounced, "Actually, you're wrong." Use it sparingly to gently steer the conversation, not to correct everyone's grammar. Used well, it shows you are engaging with the truth of the situation. Now let us talk about time. Robots say at 8 p.m. Humans say around 8. 8-ish. Just after 8. We are rarely precise. I'll see you around 7-ish. Adding "ish" to a time or a number is a wonderful native trick. How old is he? 40-ish. What time is it? Noonish. It means approximately. It sounds very relaxed and flexible. If you demand exact times, you create stress. Ish creates flow. Let us look at verb patterns. Some verbs are followed by a ing, and some by to. I enjoy playing. I want to play. Getting this wrong is a common robotic marker. I enjoy to play sounds clunky. I want playing sounds wrong. There is no magic trick here. You just have to listen and absorb the patterns. But a good rule of thumb for feelings: enjoy, love, hate, like, often go with ing for general habits. I love swimming. I hate waiting. It sounds more continuous and natural than the infinitive form in these contexts. I want to give you a tip about listening with your eyes. When you are having a conversation, watch the other person's mouth. This is not just to help you understand the sounds, but it creates a connection. It shows you are focused. Also, mimic their facial expressions. If they look sad, drop your eyebrows. If they look happy, raise them. This facial mirroring tells their brain that you are empathetic. It makes them feel understood without you saying a word. A robot face is static. A human face is a mirror. Let us talk about ownership. We use possessives a lot. My friend, my job, my car. But we also use this to create a sense of storytelling ownership. So I was talking to this guy. I saw this amazing movie. Using this instead of a pulls the object closer to you and the listener. It makes it specific and interesting. A guy is a statistic. This guy is a character in your story. We should also discuss the vocal slide for I see. When someone explains something and you understand, you don't just say I see flatly. You slide the pitch down. I see. It starts high and goes low. I see. This intonation carries the meaning of click. The light bulb went on. If you say I see with a rising tone, it sounds like you are checking if you can see visually. The falling slide indicates cognitive understanding. Now, let us practice chunking long sentences. Imagine a long sentence. I went to the store because I needed to buy some milk for my breakfast tomorrow morning. A robot says this in one breath or breaks it at random spots. A human chunks it by meaning. I went to the store because I needed to buy some milk for my breakfast tomorrow morning. There are tiny micro pauses between the chunks. The pitch resets slightly at the start of each chunk. This makes the information digestible. If you try to swallow the whole sentence at once, you will choke on the words. Cut it up. Serve it in pieces. I want to talk about the word like as a quotative. He was like, "No way," and I was like, "Yes way." In this context, like means said or thought. It is extremely common in casual storytelling, especially among younger generations. I was like, "What is happening?" means I thought, "What is happening?" While you should not use this in a business presentation, using it in a funny story with friends makes you sound very current and authentic. It allows you to perform the dialogue rather than just reporting it. Let us end this section by talking about kindness in your voice. This is the ultimate anti-robot technique. A robot is indifferent. A human cares. When you ask, "How are you?" mean it. Put some warmth in the "are." How are you? When you say thank you, put some gratitude in the thank. Thank you so much. If your intention is kind, your voice will naturally soften and fluctuate in a pleasing way. If you are just going through the motions, you will sound metallic. English is a language that responds beautifully to warmth. Let us review the key points we have covered in our entire journey to stop sounding robotic. We talked about linking words together so they flow like a river. We talked about sentence stress and the importance of making content words loud and function words quiet. We discussed reductions like gonna and wanna. We looked at the importance of emotion and acting in your speech. We talked about the schwa sound and relaxing your mouth. We mentioned using fillers naturally to buy time. We discussed the importance of breathing and pausing. We looked at vocabulary choices and avoiding overly formal words. We covered assimilation, the dark L, the American R, and the order of adjectives. We even talked about the psychology of having an English character. All of these things together create the English in Advance method of natural speaking. It is not about memorizing a million rules. It is about changing your mindset from "I am a student reciting a text" to "I am a person connecting with another person." It takes time. You will not change your habit overnight. But every time you practice linking two words, every time you use a contraction, every time you add emotion to a sentence, you are chipping away at the robot armor. You are revealing the real you underneath. So here is my call to action for you today. I want you to choose just one of the techniques we discussed. Maybe it is the linking, maybe it is the intonation, maybe it is the reductions. Pick one and focus on it for the entire day. Whenever you speak English, or even when you are talking to yourself in English, focus on that one element. If you choose intonation, try to sing your sentences. Make them exaggerated. If you choose linking, try to never stop the sound. Master one piece at a time. Thank you so much for listening to this extensive episode of English in Advance. We have traveled a long way together, and I am so proud of your commitment. You are doing the hard work that most people avoid, and that means you are going to get results that most people dream of. Remember, your goal is connection, not perfection. You have a beautiful voice and a unique story to tell. And the world wants to hear it, not a robot version of it. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help us grow, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell a friend about us. It really helps us create more content like this for you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep flowing, and keep moving forward with your English. I am Jessica, and I will see you in the next lesson. Goodbye for now.